This is Joe Pavich Jr., and welcome to the Joe Pavich Podcast. This show is all about real people, meaningful conversations, and a splash of real estate. Welcome to the Joe Show. Today I'd like to introduce my guest, Charles Patti. Charles is with Myself Wellness. Charles has an amazing story. He uses his journey to now help others, and also mental reset and everything, man. Great to see you. What's happening?
Oh, well, everything's going pretty well, Joe. Thank you very much for having me on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking pretty shredded these days, Charles. I got to tell you, man. Through the holidays, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I got to tell you.
I appreciate it. I'm in the middle of a cut right now, starting my New Year's resolution a little bit early this year.
Nice. I got a friend email me last night, asked me what kind of Christmas cookies I like. And I said, just hold those back a little bit. I'm still trying to get back from my Thanksgiving, turkey splurge, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what's happening these days? Tell me about the mindset, getting ready for the day. I mean, it's all about kind of the way you start off, right?
No, for sure. I think the way that we start off our day is incredibly important. I start off my day in a place of gratitude. The first thing I do when I open my eyes is look up and say, I am grateful. And I really find that when you start your day off in a place of gratitude that way, that the universe or God gives you things to be grateful for. Then I close my eyes and I do like a 10 to 15 minute meditation. And then after that, I'm pretty locked in with the repetition of everything. I have my coffee 45 minutes after I wake up. I have a big glass of water when I first wake up, things like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm about to the minute as well. So you get up at 5, coffee, out the door at a specific time, to the gym at a specific time, and I usually leave the gym at a specific time to be home to start knocking on kids' doors. Get up, wake up. So it's all about that mindset. Now, in the morning, like meditation, is it any type of meditation, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi or anything like that, or is it just your own way of breathing?
No, I literally
clearing?
Just take some big deep breaths and I sit back into the present moment and clear my thoughts and kind of just like let everything clear out.
Yeah.
So, I can really lock in and hone in on the way I'm going to start going about my day.
I'm all about that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One thing you don't know about me is that back in the day, I used to do some martial arts, Tai Chi. Tai Chi was pretty cool, actually. Breathing techniques and that sort of trying to clear your mind. I feel like that's probably helped me a little bit through the days too. Breathing.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely, man.
Not dwelling on things, not holding things. Yesterday is yesterday. Focus on the moment.
Yeah, no,
tomorrow's not here yet.
No,
right?
I completely agree, man. They have this saying, and it says 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, and I'm taking a piss on today, basically. Yeah. So it's like staying in the present moment is, very key to life, I believe.
Sure. That's what it's all about, for sure. And I try to tell the kids that too. It's like, hey, you can't teach. I mean, they're 14, 12, and 10. But you try to explain to them, life. They're just so young that they just don't get. And you have kids, right? Is it 2 kids?
No, well, yeah. So I have Charlie, who's my biological son, and then I have 2 stepchildren from a previous marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think Charlie's like, what, is he 2? Is he 2?
No, so Charlie's 5.
Oh, 5, okay.
Yeah, and we're getting him into meditation, and he does breath work and stuff
Nice.
like that. So definitely programming him properly at a young age.
Yeah. At 5, they're rough and tough. Get in the MMA. Start putting some moves on you. I did that for a little bit, too. I put the kids in MMA, Joey and Jake. That was pretty fun watching them.
Nice.
It was at a place in Fort Myers, training grounds, good people. We had some fun for sure. I wish they would have kept it up because it's kind of a cool thing, but baseball, soccer, everything else. Hobbies, school, homework, it was getting a little tough.
Yeah, Charlie's doing, he was just in soccer and now he just got done with T-ball. So we're starting that, doing all the sports as well.
Did you play some sports?
Yeah, no, I played soccer at a young age,
okay.
And then a little bit of baseball. And then I played basketball in middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything further out, like in high school or any?
No, that's kind of when life started to take a turn and I started going down another path.
We're going to talk about that path in a little bit.
Yeah.
That path, that's a crazy path, by the way.
For sure.
So how about like work-life mix, now, right? Your kid's 5, trying to, be present, be in the moment. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
Come home. What's it like?
Honestly, my life's on repeat. It involves working, going to the gym, and spending time with my family, and like that's pretty much repetition and consistent every single day.
I love it.
Yeah. Listen, I love what I do. What I do isn't work to me. It's really just like what I wanted to do with my life at this point. And so every free minute that I get when I'm not spending time with the family, I'm just focused on building.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. A lot of people can start it off in the morning routines, right? But then there's no routine throughout the day. You got a whole routine.
Yeah.
Can you turn the switch off at night?
No. So after I spend time with the family, I'm back to working until I go to bed. And like that, my work at night is a little bit different. It's mostly like working on social media and like, getting messages back to people and continuously networking in that
Sure.
aspect.
Getting on podcasts with specific people.
Amazing people
Joe
like you,
Pavich.
Joe.
Thank you, man. It's funny because we haven't known each other that long, but when I met you, I felt like I've already known you. I mean, it's great. It's great to connect with people like that because some people you know for 10 years, but you don't even really know them.
Yeah. No, I completely
Not
agree,
this
man.
guy right here.
It was like, it felt natural. It was very organic and natural right when we met. And, listen, when you're in alignment and I feel like when you're on you have a purpose and you have a way of life and the way that you work and things like that, you meet people that are on that same frequency or like that same path, and it just kind of works out perfectly from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's like an old friend too. If you have a friend that you haven't talked to in 10 years, you call them up, but it's almost like you just talked yesterday, right? You could just pick up right where you left off. Yeah. There's not that many people you can do that with.
No, for sure.
Especially friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe there's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
On one hand.
I was going to say, if you got enough friends that you can count them on your hand or whatever, you're a lucky person.
That's right. That's right. So, Charles, tell me a little bit about my self-wellness. Just give me a little bit of an insight. I don't want to talk too much about that because we're going to go into it from back when.
Yeah.
So tell me just a little bit about it.
So my self-wellness.
Or tell the audience.
Yeah. So my self-wellness is our mental health and ketamine treatment facility. We do psychiatry, ketamine therapy. We specialize in psychedelic ketamine therapy because we're really doing these therapeutic doses that are giving people very profound healing experiences. We're really stepping away from the pharmaceutical paradigm of treating people's symptoms and actually getting to the root issue and the root cause of why they have the symptoms. We're getting people off of pharmaceutical medications like antidepressants, benzos like Xanax, antipsychotic medications, street drugs, alcohol, you name it. But we're really a facility where East meets West or science meets spirituality because we're teaching people about meditative practices, breath work, healthy lifestyle changes, all of the things that are the real recipe for long-term success with the medicine.
That's what it's all about right there, just being able to clear your mind and be healthy and be around for a long time, right?
Yeah.
5-year-old kid. How old are you, Charles?
42.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was crazy because a guy at the gym yesterday, he looked at me, he's like, "You look so young for your age." And I'm just
it's
like,
good to hear.
Well, it's like, listen, I spent a lot of years of my life being one of the unhealthiest people on the planet.
That's right.
And now I'm shifting it to trying to be one of the healthiest.
It's got to be great to hear. The first time you heard that, when you turn your life around, that must have been a real good feeling.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's definitely a different kind of feeling from the way that it used to be for a long time. So
yeah, that's right. So, hey, man, let's go back. Take me back.
Yeah.
Take me back to being a child, young age. Tell me about the family atmosphere, just kind of like how it all started.
Well, so like I had a good family life, and then unfortunately my dad got lung cancer when I was very young.
How old?
About 5 years old, I think he was diagnosed, and he ended up passing away when I was 6. And so that was a lot. It was very traumatic, and I was very lost in that aspect. I really, needed guidance that I didn't have from that male figure growing up.
And at that time, it was a normal family, right?
Yeah, well, kind of.
To a certain extent, right?
For the most part, except for Dad lived mostly up in Massachusetts, and he still came down a lot. But
got it. So your parents were not together at that age?
They were together.
Oh, they were, okay.
Yeah, Dad was doing work up there that
got it.
He wanted to move us down here for.
Sure. So 5 or 6 years old, and then father passed away.
Yeah.
Right? These are just things that I think of all the time, right? You see these parents pass away, kids are so young, and you look at how old they are, and you're like, oh man, my kid's 10, my kid's 12, 14. It's scary, it's scary, and that's why you're on the path that you're on, right? And that's why I'm on the path I am. You want to be the best dad you can be.
100%.
Be there, and all the things that maybe a parent didn't do. Right? There are things that
listen, like that's one of the actual, I try to look at the positive aspects when negative things might happen. And the truth is that because my dad passed when I was so young, I'm very present in my son's life, and I make sure that every single day that I have the opportunity to spend time with him,
Yeah.
I'm there.
You do.
When I was a kid, my dad didn't, he was passed, so I didn't get to go to like Donuts with Dad Day and stuff like
Sure.
that. I had to go with one of my friends' fathers, and like it was like almost emotional when I got to go for my sons for the first time, because it just meant that much.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful.
That's great that you think that way, because I know you're a great dad and husband, and in the moment, that's awesome. It's almost like the first time you did Donuts with Dad. It's like you get in the car and you kind of, a tear might come out.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful, man. It was like I actually had to give a speech down to some city officials that day in Lee County, and it was like I almost didn't have the opportunity to go, but I was like, I'm not missing it, no matter what. So I went in, I got to spend a little bit of time with Charlie, and then I jumped in the car and went and gave the speech, and everything was beautiful. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Especially from that, you probably give the best speech of your life, right? Doing something like that you wish you could have done with your father. Now you're the guy. You can always make it better, right? When you have kids, if you have a bad childhood that's not the greatest, then all of a sudden you have kids, you want to make theirs the greatest, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's that like positive aspect of everything. It's like I go above and beyond to make sure that I'm doing things properly. So like, Charlie has a good life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back, 5 or 6 years old. Dad died. What starts to happen at that young age?
So after that, my mother remarried pretty quickly, and my next stepdad was an alcoholic, and so there was a lot of alcohol in the house and him getting drunk all the time, and like I started sneaking beer when I was very young, and so like at a very young age, self-medicating with alcohol. And then
at 6, 7, is it 6?
about 7, 8 years old,
okay.
I was sneaking sips of booze and things like that.
Was your mom, did she drink as well?
No, it wasn't like that.
It was just around, right?
Yeah, it was just around. And then, my stepdad was always telling me, hey, go grab me a beer. And every time I'd get him one, I'd pop it open, have a sip, but by the end of the night, I was tipsy.
Mostly beer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, but then when I got a little bit older into my, I was like 12, 13. My stepdad started drinking with me on the weekends after my mom went to bed. So she didn't know about it, but it was definitely happening.
So when you were 7 years old, right, had a couple beers or sips of beers. Yeah. I remember my grandfather, he had drank Old Style, which is not the greatest beer from Chicago, right? It's good. It's not bad now. But he used to tell me, like, Joe, you're not going to like this. This is disgusting. And I'm thinking, why do you drink it then if it's so disgusting? Yeah. He said it was an acquired taste. But he'd give you a sip, but he wanted to give you a sip so you can go, God, that's disgusting. I don't never want that. That was his goal, right, is to make us not ever want to have beer. And I didn't want beer because it tastes horrible, right? So you start having a couple sips, and all of a sudden, when is it when you start having a couple more than just a few sips? Kind of at what age?
Well, it was like once I had those couple sips, it was the opposite of not wanting to do it. I felt this like real sense of relief instantly. And I was just like, oh, this is what I'm missing in my life. Like, this is what's going to fix everything and make me feel better.
Yeah, the pain. You're using that as a way to get rid of the pain, right? I mean, No,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, 7, 8, 9, start having some more drinks then? Or were you, drinking liquor at that time, or just more beer, or kind of what? Tell me about like a normal day as maybe an 8 or 9 year old.
Well, it was normal, like going to school and stuff like that. It was just after school or whatever, me having to go get 15, 20 beers back to back and having a sip of each of them. Hard alcohol didn't really come into the equation until I was getting into like around 12, 13, 10, something like that around then.
It's crazy to hear that, man. Think 12, 13, the audience is probably thinking you're going to say like 18, 19, 20, but that's why you're here, man. You got a crazy, awesome story, like Rocky Balboa, man. I want to give you a hug. It's a crazy story. So, and then obviously you're having a couple sips, and I'm sure you got to a point maybe 9 or 10 where you're looking forward to having him ask you for a beer so you can have a sip, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. And then it got to the point where I just wasn't waiting anymore, and I'd just go snag one. We had a massive beer cooler at the house. And so
what age is that?
It was like when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, stuff like that. Like there was so many beers, nobody was going to miss it if I took a couple.
And all of a sudden, you have a beer or two a night right at that age. Is that what you're, a couple beers? Give me an idea of like how many beers at that
a couple beers. And then you're
probably 80 pounds, so I'm sure 2 beers. at that age is a lot, right?
100%, man.
And did it become like an every night thing where you?
Every other night at least, or pretty much like consistently almost every night.
Yeah.
When it was right when I was around like 12, 13 that, I started really getting drunk on the weekends and stuff like that. It wasn't just stealing sips in here and there or snagging a beer or whatever. It was like, I would.
It was a thing.
Yeah, I would hang out with a couple of my other delinquent friends.
You were like in a fraternity almost, but when you were 10, 12 years old, right? I mean, not 10, but 12 years old roughly, right?
Yeah.
So did your stepdad know that at that point you were drinking in your room and stuff?
By the time I was like 12, he was like giving me glasses of port wine and smoking cigars with me on the back porch.
And your mom at that point,
she was asleep.
Yeah, she had no idea this was going on.
No.
At what happened at that point? Did she know or catch on at a certain point where maybe she hard getting you up for school or smelled it on your breath or on your clothes? Like when did she kind of catch on that it was happening?
It wasn't until I got into like my teens, like 13, 14, 15, that my consumption levels were going up and the hangovers started to happen and things like that. And so that's when things started, being noticed. But the truth is like I was a good kid, at that age or whatever. I wasn't really causing any
harm. You were just at night just having a couple.
And like even like throughout my whole story or whatever, I think that's one of the consistent things is that most of the damage that was done, it was just like self-inflicted. It wasn't like me going out and like hurting people or anything and stuff like that.
Yeah, you probably needed someone like you, a mentor to help you through, the hard times. It's always good. I always ask people that about having a mentor because, we do need people to help us, even as leaders, right? You're a leader. I feel like I'm a leader.
Yeah, for sure.
But you want to be able to talk to people because leaders need advice too, right?
Yeah, all of the people I was getting my advice from when I was younger were not
leaders.
No, well, they were leading me in the wrong direction.
Leading you down the wrong path for sure. Now, did you have friends at that age coming over and having beers with you, or were you drinking by yourself?
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
So it was a party at 12 years old.
Yeah, like after everybody would go to bed, the party, like parent-wise, the party would start.
Yeah,
and then we'd sit up and drink till like 12 or 1 in the morning, and then fall asleep and wake up and, go eat breakfast that mom's cooking or whatever. Yeah. We were like quiet and, never really got caught or anything and stuff like that.
And then you were going to school at that age, right? So getting up, almost a hangover, right? Going into what, 7th grade?
So like in 8th grade, I started going to, because I had gone to community school until that point. And then by the time like 8th grade happened, I was going to Gulfview Middle.
Okay.
And me and about 10 of my friends would meet like an hour before school started. And we would literally, take shots of Bacardi and start smoking cannabis and stuff like that
before school.
We went to school in 8th grade. Yeah.
In 8th grade?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you hear about that stuff like in college or fraternities and people doing stuff, which you don't even hear much of that, but at such a young age. All right, so you're 8th grade, right? You're getting ready to go to high school, right?
Yeah.
High school, I mean, you've already done more than anybody in that whole school has done, and you're not even in school yet.
Yeah.
You built a tolerance to drinking a little bit, right? You could drink more than seniors.
No,
college.
for sure.
So what happens you go into high school then? So tell me about the partying days and kind of what it looked like.
Well, so that was when more extracurricular activities started coming into play. I was, starting to use Xanax and pain pills and cocaine.
As a freshman?
Yeah.
All of those?
In 8th grade, I started using cocaine when I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then, things to counteract that with the pain pills and the Xanax and stuff like that. So by the time I was a freshman in high school, I had a pretty decent substance abuse issue.
Did you do it? You did it all? Almost by the time you're a freshman.
Yeah, everything except for the harder opiates that didn't come into play until I was in like my 18, 19 years old and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, yeah.
So what did high school look like? And by the way, I appreciate you talking about this stuff because, man. And that's what I love about you is that's an old chapter.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with who you are today, other than you've done it. So when you talk to patients, hey man, I did it.
Well, it's like when
I got over it. I can help you.
There it is. It's like if I share this stuff and somebody hears about it, you know, the mother that's got a freshman in high school that has substance abuse issues, or he's starting to, you know, experiment with things, she might come up to me and be like, hey, listen, will you talk to my son? I think you might be able to reach him because he won't listen to me. And, you know, it's like even when I go to the gym at night, like because I do things like this, I have people come up to me left and right and they start telling me what they're going through and what they're talking about. One guy I work out kind of with sometimes, he looked at me last night and he's like, you're a nutcase because you don't listen to music when you're working out. And I'm just like, yeah, but then nobody will be able to talk to me if they need to. You know, and so it's like I literally live a life with stoic principles where I realized that everything that I went through was to serve a greater purpose and be of service to help other people that are still suffering out there. So it's like, you know, you can look at everything that I went through as a really horrible or horrifying or negative thing, but it's just a blip in my life or something that I had to go through in order to become the man that I am today.
Yeah, I mean, at that age, you know you were doing wrong, obviously, but you had some deeper things going on, and you helping people, you know, younger or older, right? You could have helped yourself. You probably could have, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't have that person.
No.
So sophomore year, junior, senior, tell me about alcohol. Tell me about habits and a normal, tell me about a normal, I don't want to say normal day. Tell me about a day that was like a crazy day where you did a lot of partying. Like what would a day look like for that?
Every day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, it was Groundhog's
Bill Murray,
Day.
you know, the movie Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's what you were living in,
My
right?
life was on repeat, and it was just party. Listen, I've always had addictive personalities and been a creature of habit. It's just like you got to flip it and turn it and utilize it into something positive. I started, you know, getting into other extracurricular things where, like, you know, my habits became expensive, so I started, you know, getting more quantities to give to people so I could always have access to the thing and stuff like that. So it was like, you know, it's definitely wasn't something that, you know, I'm proud of or whatever, but it was just a part of my life.
So tell me about that. What types of drugs? Like what were you doing and then it got too expensive?
Everything. Cocaine, Xanax, any of the pills, weed, everything. You name it, man.
So it's Oxycontin pills, things like that?
So when I was 18, I got introduced to Oxycontin for the first time.
18. So that's, I guess I'd be a senior.
Yeah, no, it was like right after, it was like right towards the end of high school, right after high school, going into my freshman year of college. And, you know, listen, like I was abusing drugs and alcohol up to that point, but it wasn't like that. After I started dabbling with Oxycontin, it was the first time I had actually gone through a withdrawal from something. And those things are basically they were pharmaceutical heroin. And so like it was incredibly brutal. And
it grabbed you.
100%.
Like an octopus, just wrapped its tentacles around. Nothing you can do, right?
No.
So then, you know, getting out of it, right? So you start taking Oxycontin. Your body's used to 1 or 2, and now you need 5 to feel normal. I mean, was that what you were experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, it started off with only needing like a half of one because we were doing the 80 milligrammers back then. And the thing is that they were cheap when I first started doing them. You know, they were like, you know, $20 a pill for an 80 or something like that. The problem is after a while, they became $40 a pill. And then before you knew it, people were charging $1 a milligram, which was $80 a pill. And that's an extremely expensive habit to uphold. So the guy who I was getting them from was actually selling heroin too. And he was just like, listen, man, he's like, you should just try a bag of this because it'll be way stronger,
it's less
and it's
expensive,
cheaper,
right?
100%. And so, you know, I was snorting them back then, and I tried that, and I was just like, oh, this is way better. And so that's when I started dabbling with heroin.
And that's like after high school, right? Heroin. Now, did you get addicted to heroin as well?
Yeah.
Were you able to get off of Oxycontin? I mean, heroin, or you just kind of just doing whatever you can really do at that point?
No, 100%. Listen, you know, it was like I was getting sick from not taking things, but like, you know, I started going to rehab on and off too back then because things were getting out of control. So, you know, it's like when I was 18, I went to Betty Ford, and then when I was 19, I was up at Hazelden in Minnesota. And, you know, it's just like, that was basically like how my life went. You know, it's like I would get strung out, I would end up getting in trouble, and then I'd end up having ramifications from the courts and being on
to
probation
go in,
and
right?
things
To
like
go
that.
check yourself in, right?
Yeah, 100%. And
when you checked in, though, were you checked in? I mean, did you feel like you really wanted to be there, or were you like, I'm just here because I got
until you feel the burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you in and out of jail? Were you in and out of jail in those ages a little bit? I know you said DUI, but
Yeah.
you know, a lot of times people are addicted to drugs, right? They would do anything they need to do to get it.
Yeah.
Steal, whatever, right? You just want to get it. You didn't spend any time in jail?
Only once did I spend an extended
And that
time
was
period, but that wasn't until I was in like my early 30s or
Okay.
late 20s or something like that. Yeah.
So you ran this for quite a bit.
Yeah.
You're the GOAT, man. I got to tell you, brother.
You're the goat,
Dude,
Joe.
You, well, maybe in real estate, you know, small little pond. But man, seriously, brother, this is, I love you, man. It's a crazy story.
Thanks.
But if somebody would have told you then, hey, man, one day you're going to use this to help people, you probably never would have thought that was the case, right? You were so deep entrenched trying to you know, heal yourself, right? Trying to just do whatever you can do to get the pain away. But in reality, you were just hurting yourself worse and worse.
Yeah, no, 100%, man.
So you did this. So when you're 42 now, tell me about the tail end of it, when you started to wanted to physically turn this around.
So it wasn't like, so I would say the healing started finding me. All right. Because like God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it wasn't like, you know, going to a 12-step meeting or something like that. I mean, I did get, you know, some meat and potatoes about recovery in those kind of places. But the truth is that I was partying one night, and one of the guys that I was friends with brought another gentleman with him from Miami, and we were at my house using substances, and they had some different psychedelics on them. And I thought that I was going into the night partying, but it didn't end like that. I had this spiritual experience where I was told that I was supposed to quit taking drugs and alcohol and heal myself because I was supposed to help people heal.
Wow. Was that mushrooms or something?
No, so it was on a macro dose of MDMA and a dissociative like ketamine that basically is, instead of an hour long, it's 4 to 6 hours long.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a full-on out-of-body experience, like a religious or spiritual
And
experience.
it wasn't meant to be that, right? This
No.
was just that it just happened. You were trying to party.
No, I thought I was partying, and then all of a sudden I'm out in outer space, and Jesus is there, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And listen, I'm not a religious Bible dumping person or anything like that. I am a very spiritual person, but that night was a incredibly profound night for me, and I was told what my life's purpose was.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
listen, like, and I didn't get my life together after that night. They didn't end up happening like that. It was some other really deep dives with psychedelics that I had some more spiritual experiences.
Tell me about that, because it's almost like a movie, right? I'm trying to think of a movie that you'd have kind of an experience like that in. I feel like what's a Tom Cruise movie? What's the one? Tell me about some movies that would kind of go through like that type of experience or feeling.
I mean, basically, like, you know, it's a consistent thing that when people describe their ketamine treatments at our clinic too, it's more like, it's like interstellar conception. Or Inception.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
And with Leonardo da Vinci, but like it's you know.
That's more of the treatment part of things.
Yeah.
But something like this is crazy though. So out of body. Well, what's an out of body experience like?
So I'll tell you what happened. So I was sitting in my living room, and I stood up after everything started hitting me at the same time, and everything in the room broke down to a quantum state. I could see all the atoms humming and vibrating and everything. And I looked at everybody and I said, if I didn't know what the universe was about before, I know what it's about now, man. Everything's made of energy, and I'm so full of positive energy. I sat down in a chair, and then I looked up, and all of a sudden this geometric portal started opening above me on the ceiling, and I felt like I was being lowered down in a slingshot. And then I got skyrocketed out of my body into deep space, where I'm looking around and I can see like stars and galaxies. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm dead. Like, I died.
Yeah.
And I looked down, and I was a being made of light. Like the movie Cocoon, when the people are just glowing beings.
Yeah.
And so I was convinced I was dead. And then there was like these angelic beings that started telepathically talking to me, telling me to calm down and everything was going to be okay.
Wow.
And listen, I know this stuff sounds completely crazy, and it still sounds crazy to me too, but it's just my experience and it's what happened. And so I was basically told that, you know, like, we're all one collective consciousness, and that I might not like everybody, but I have to love everybody because they're all reflections of me.
Sure.
And so, basically the underlying message that I got that night was that, I was supposed to heal myself so I could help people heal, and that the answer is always love. And the thing is that, like, after those angelic beings were having that telepathic communication with me, I look over and then Jesus starts to come into the equation. And so I went over and I put my hand on Jesus's arm, and it goes, whoosh.
Yeah.
And it was an explosion of the most loving, euphoric feeling I had ever felt in my life. And like, I had crippling fear of death until that night because my dad died. And after that night, I wasn't scared of dying anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like I said, I'm not a religious person. I'm not here trying to convert anybody to that or anything. But like, it was an experience that forever changed my life.
So what was it on again? Was it MDMA? What was the drug that you were on?
So it was MDMA, and then it was another compound called MXC.
Okay.
And MXC is basically like ketamine on steroids.
Well, regardless of, if that you actually went and experienced that, or if it was a crazy trip or whatever it is, that doesn't matter.
No.
Because that's where it started to change, right? That's when you start to feel like you're better than what's happening. You're meant for other things other than drugs and jail and everything else, right? So, and then after that point, you started to go, you still went down a little further before you were able to get to the top, right?
Well, the problem with that experience is that, like, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And I just, like everybody that's probably watching it, it's going to sound crazy. So it sounded crazy to everybody. I tried to talk about it.
Yeah, you want to tell people, but they're going to, think, man, this
yeah. No, it's
crazy
nuts,
story, right?
Like, but the thing, so this is what we call integration. And integration is when you talk about and process these healing experiences with somebody to make sense of everything.
Yeah.
And that's why we're very adamant about doing that at our facility, because, I might have had greater success more quickly if I would have had somebody to do that with. And so, it was, I ended up going further down the addiction route. Got hooked on heroin again. And then I was really, hooked on heroin for about 6 years straight.
Until what age?
34?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, 35 maybe, 34. And I knew the experiences that I had with, psychedelics and how they were so profound. And I was like, if I get a hold of some DMT, I think it'll help me stop doing heroin. And so...
What's DMT?
Dimethyltryptamine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the strongest psychedelics on the planet.
Okay.
If anybody's heard of ayahuasca, it's the main psychoactive ingredient in ayahuasca. But you can extract it from a root bark and you can smoke it. And so I got a hold of that. After I thought of it, it basically like appeared in my life within a few weeks after that. And I smoked it with the intention of stopping using heroin. And I had another spiritual experience. And after that night, I completely quit using it.
Wow.
Yeah, I locked myself in a bedroom for a week with some cannabis and some Suboxone and detoxed myself. And that was the end of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at what age? 30?
That was like 35, 34, 35.
Well, the story about the trip or whatever, what would you want to call that? A trip or that experience? I would call it like an experience, right?
Yeah.
Whether people believe that story the way it happened or whatever it is, it's what happened.
Yeah.
That's how you felt, whether it's
I'm not trying to tell anybody that it's like, this is what happened.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this
It's
is
the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah,
it's
you
just like, it was an
that.
experience I had and it forever changed me. But whether it's real or not, like that's to be determined. But it doesn't really matter so much to me if it's real or not, because it was the catalyst that completely propelled my life in a different direction.
It's what started. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess like a coming to Jesus or some...
Literally.
Yeah, literally, right? But it's something that changed you forever, right? So I think it's a really cool story how that happened. So you're 34, 35, right? You're 42 now. So this wasn't that long ago where, 6 years, your son's 5, right?
Yeah.
So now you turn it around and
it was probably a little bit before that. My timeline might be off. It might have been like 8 years ago or something like that.
Well, like I said, you look 22, so it's hard to think.
Thanks.
So then you stop, right? You take this leap of faith after you're clean, you're good to go. Now you're ready to teach people and help people.
Now
right?
I got my life together and I just started working and stuff like that, and like actually a whole.
What were you doing at that point? Working.
What do you? after I got my life together,
Yeah.
I had to completely humble myself because I was working for my family's PR company for, a couple years before this. And I was just like, you know what, like I'm getting sober. I need to like do something here locally and just lock in. And so I was like, I'm just going to go get a job at a gym. And because like I was like, it'll be a good atmosphere for me. I'll network, I'll meet people, and I'll get to work out a few hours a day, which will be fantastic. So I got a job at Naples Family Fitness.
Nice.
Yeah.
You look great, man. By the way.
Thanks.
Naples Family Fitness. All right, so you're there. I was just driving by there yesterday, actually.
Yeah, love that place.
Crazy,
I still go there.
Do you?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you get a job there. Now, how far after that did you start getting into, my self-wellness?
So I was on a treadmill doing cardio one day, and next to me came a beautiful woman, and it's Christina, who is my other half now, and I basically
Shout out to Christina.
Yeah, shout out to Christina. Yeah, thank you for helping save my life.
She's great, by the way. Had a chance to meet her.
But I tried to talk to her. She blew me off on the treadmill. And then it was like, a couple of days later where I saw her downstairs and somebody had said something smart to her. And it's a mutual friend of ours who probably deserved to get slapped. So she slapped him in the middle of the gym.
Okay. All right.
And I went up to her and I was like, I was wondering who's going to do that for a long time. And you've provided my entertainment for the night. So you should let me take you out to dinner.
I like that.
And so
girl power, hey, don't mess with me.
No.
Don't mess with Christina.
100%. And so I took her to Capitol Grill for our first date.
Okay.
It's been beautiful ever since.
Yeah.
But we had our son. He was 6 months old. After that, I went back to working for my family's PR firm because, got a kid, family, I need more money than what you're going to make at the gym. And I went to a trade show in Mexico, and I was walking around, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this, because this is like not my calling. It's not my purpose. If I went through 20 years worth of misery and don't use what helped me to help other people, it seems like a waste of 20 years of my life. So I came back.
That's impressive, by the way.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You're an old soul, man, for sure, because that's a good way to think about it, right?
Yeah, for
sure. Let me use this to help other people.
Well, then my life makes sense, so like I sat down with Christina and I'm like, so listen, and I basically said, if I don't use what helped me to help other people, it was a waste. I'm going to quit my job, so let's take a leap of faith and let's start a company that's going to help people heal. And the truth is that I had another really profound psychedelic experience right around that time, and it was guiding me in that direction.
Yeah.
And so I basically took the message and I ran with it. And we opened up our clinic like a week before the lockdown from COVID, which was crazy. But, we stayed positive, used the laws of attraction, kept helping the next person first. And now fast forward to where we're at. About 5 years later, we've done around 14,000 treatments from our facility, have an astronomically high success rate of helping people find the relief that they're looking for. And it just keeps getting better and better, man.
That's a big leap of faith. Yeah. With a baby coming, you just risk it all.
100%.
That's scary. That's scary, right? You're vulnerable. You could fail. Now you have a wife. You got a kid coming.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to make those decisions. But what I love about you is I don't think you're a look back kind of a guy. I think you're just 100 miles an hour. Let's do it. I'm going to make it happen regardless. So
like when I was an addict and I was going in that direction, I was one of the most hardcore addicts that I knew, right? Because my drive, it was just incredible of going out and getting what I needed and doing what I needed to do. I knew that I was a savage in that aspect, and if I applied it to something positive, that I could accomplish anything that I wanted. And so that's what I was just like, I know it's going to work because I'm never going to give up. I sat down with my father-in-law when we were getting ready to start the company, and he looked at me and he goes, hey, Charles, he's like, so listen, if this doesn't work, what's your plan B? And I was like, nah, man. I was like, no, you see, you don't get it. I was like, I'm manifesting this. And I said, there is no plan B. I'm either going to make this happen or I'm going to die trying. As Goggins would say, I burnt the boats and I risked it all and I just didn't look back. Yeah. Man, that's deep right there. Have you written a book? Yeah. That's the next. I was going to say, man, buddy, you'd be the bestseller. That would be you could write 5 books. You literally could. Listen, the crazy part is, man, I think this is just the beginning of the story. Yeah. Yeah. It starts now. 100%. Starts today. Yeah, man. I think I'm kind of thinking about that in the future here. That might be a goal of mine.
It is a goal.
Heck yeah, man.
I don't want to, give too much information to people, but that's kind of going to happen here pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
You too. It's
100%.
awesome.
Hey, man, we got to tell everybody. Listen,
Tell
got to
us.
tell everybody just in case we might inspire somebody or we might end up helping somebody that needs the help,
I got a story to tell. Is that Biggie?
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls? So now you got now a leap of faith, right? Kid's about to be born. Now you got a facility.
No, he's 6 months old.
Oh, he's 6 months
when we took
old.
the leap
Okay.
of faith.
All right,
Even
so-
harder to convince her. We have a baby, Charles.
Yeah. Well, at least he was born. You're right.
Yeah,
She wasn't pregnant because then she would have said, "You're crazy."
Yeah,
like
100%.
any wife would say. All right. So now the facility opens, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you got, you help people with many different things. Not only drug addiction, as far as, tell me if I'm right by saying this, right? But any kind of addiction, weight loss, mental, anything, right? I mean, you kind of do it all, don't you?
Depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance
Yeah.
abuse issues, food addiction, like anything, like you
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
so
that's
many
right.
things, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So is it all just the psychedelic aspect, or is there a coaching aspect to work with people to just let them? Because sometimes people just need to talk,
Yeah,
right?
no.
To someone that they trust, a leader, a mentor. So do you have different options for people?
So we do psychiatry, medical cannabis referrals, meditation classes, integration with a couple of different specialists. Sometimes people request to work one-on-one with me, which I can accommodate sometimes. Listen, like when we opened up the clinic, the first person that we treated was suicidal. All right. And it was a guy that we knew who had tried everything, even other psychedelics, anything to try to get himself some relief. And he was going to end it all. And after his first treatment, he walked out of the room and he looked at everybody and he goes, "Oh my gosh, it worked. I don't want to hurt myself anymore."
Wow.
And at that moment, my entire life made sense. And I knew that I was going to help change the world.
That's impressive.
Yeah, man.
Your old friends, troublemakers, they ever come back to you and have you helped them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've
Wow.
got a few of them sober long
I'm sure you
now.
probably lost, I would imagine. I mean, in our lives, we do, lose people along the way. Friends, you could be a young kid. I remember when I was in sixth grade, there was a kid in seventh grade that died, at such a young age, right? You start to lose people along the way just from natural things that happen, car accidents or whatever it might be. But from drugs, I would imagine you've lost a few.
Yeah,
friends.
I think I've lost 2 in the last couple of weeks. Since high school, I've probably lost about 75 to 100 friends. One of them that really got to me, though, was he was like my little brother, and I'm sure a lot of people out there know Nico LaGrasta. I actually have a nonprofit organization called the Warriors of Consciousness, and part of that organization, we have the Nico LaGrasta Legacy Fund, where people donated to it helps people specifically that have substance abuse issues get therapy from us.
I did see that on your page, by the way.
Yeah.
So tell me about the psychiatry.
Yeah.
And then there's a few options. Tell me about the other part of it, right? How do you want to explain the actual psychedelic aspect? Explain that to me a little bit. Like, what does it cost? Can you take insurance? Tell me about that.
Well, so do you want me to talk about ketamine real quick and then get into what the cost is? Or-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic that was FDA approved in 1970. It's one of, if not the safest, least toxic anesthetics on the market. And it's actually the #1 choice for pediatric sedation. So they use it on surgeries for children 1.5 and older for surgeries. So they use it for children 1.5 and older.
Sure.
The thing is that whenever we've had any kind of traumatic experiences in our life or just through the course of our life, our neural pathways get damaged in our brain. And when the neurons are trying to fire through these pathways, they start to bounce off the walls, which can cause a lot of the symptoms of depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Ketamine's going in and physiologically remapping and restructuring the neural pathways in the brain. It's also going in and turning on the receptors that create our dopamine, so we have more dopamine naturally. But these psychedelic experiences that people are having are in 6 treatments, they're achieving 20 years worth of therapy. And so this is one of the most profound psychedelic or healing experiences a human being can have, where people are speaking with deceased relatives, having spiritual experiences, processing past traumatic experiences. And so basically what our protocol looks like is you would do a medical history with our nursing staff, psychiatric evaluation with our medical director and head psychiatrist, Dr. Ferber, After those two things are complete, we do 2 treatments a week over a 3-week period, or 1 treatment a week over a 6-week period, and one-on-one integration through the process of the treatments. After the protocol is complete, another follow-up session with Dr. Ferber. And so the total cost for that is $3,300 in total. We do a 10% discount for military personnel and first responders. And unfortunately, because we're using ketamine off-label, because it's an anesthetic and we're using it for mental health, insurance companies aren't covering it at this time.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll tell you what, it's truly, like if you look at the story and what's taken place and the options you have for people. I mean, like you think of ketamine, right? 1970, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was approved in 1970.
Yeah.
I just thought it was always and I know that they use it now, but I thought it was I remember I was at a party one time and there was somebody on ketamine there.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy what he was, what he was doing, right? But the fact that now you can use it to heal and help, it's amazing. So tell me about a timeline of a treatment. How long does that take?
So, from point A to point B, people have a completely different life in 3 to 6 weeks, depending the protocol that they use. And so, it's like, this is almost like a fast forward button. I've had people that have been suffering for 30, 40, 50 years straight and nothing's ever worked for them. And in 3 weeks, they have a completely different life.
When they leave a treatment, what's it like?
So nobody's allowed to drive after the treatment's over. You have to have a loved one pick you up or an Uber or something. And, people are like a little bit woozy or wobbly because it is an anesthetic. It's kind of like coming out of a surgery.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, within a couple hours, you're back to normal.
But it's not an anesthetic where they forget. You want them to remember.
No, so we're doing sub-anesthetic doses, meaning we're giving you a fraction of what you would get going into a surgery because we want you to remember the experience.
So it's almost like a daydream in 45 minutes, right?
It's a lucid dream-like state. And honestly, it is one of the most mind-blowing, beautiful healing experiences you could possibly imagine having. Yeah.
That's amazing. So Florida is pretty high up there, right? Mental, illness, right?
Yeah.
Why is it so high?
I think there's a lot of different aspects of it. I mean, there's a lot of extra money in Florida, so a lot of people have extracurricular activities that they end up doing with the money or, growing up in families like that. B, we have a really big veteran community here, and there's a lot of veterans that have PTSD and that are suicidal out there. It's anywhere from 22 to 44 veterans that end up taking their own lives every single day, whether it's just from actually taking their lives or having substance abuse issues that they're self-medicating and passing away from that. And, listen, I want people to know out there that this is so effective to treat veterans that have suicidal ideation or that are suffering from PTSD. I had a very high-ranked Marine that we just treated recently, and after his 4th session, he came and knocked on my office door, and he's like, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, yeah, and he sat down across from me, and he goes, why isn't the VA telling everybody about this? He goes, they had me on 5 different medications, and I'm off all of them already. And he still had 2 treatments left. He's pharmaceutical free. He has an amazing quality of life now. And it's a consistent thing over and over again. And listen, I'm not bashing the VA, and I'm not at war with Big Pharma or whatever. I just want people to stop dying. And what we're doing at our clinic is really effective.
You're helping.
That, 100%.
Changing people's lives. How many clients so far, patients, how many so far have you helped?
There's thousands. So over a couple thousand.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome.
Unreal.
And we're just getting started, man. Literally, we have our clinic in Bonita, which has been ground zero, and we've done a lot of good work there. But the truth is that, I am looking to expand not only throughout the state of Florida, but nationwide and then worldwide. We have an FDA-approved medication right now that is getting people off all their pharmaceuticals, that's doing neurological healing to the brain, that's giving people 30 years worth of therapy in 3 weeks at our facility. And I'm crazy enough to believe and know that this can change the world.
You've seen it.
100%.
Do it all day.
Yeah.
It's like I can sell your home.
Yeah.
You can help them. That you do it every day, right?
100%.
You never heard about these things when I was a kid. You never heard about mental illness, or I'm not saying it's not been around by any means, but you just didn't hear about it. Social media now and all these, the internet, it's so crazy. I mean, has this always been around?
I think it has, but listen, man, I'm not
Like
trying
it's
to
just all
sound,
over the
I'm
place
trying not to sound insensitive by saying this too, but like, I think that like, society's definitely different, and I don't want to say it in a negative way, but like people have a lot of extra time on their hands. People have FOMO and they're watching social media all day and feeling inadequate or like their life isn't as amazing as somebody else's is or whatever.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk to you about too. It's like I do feel like social media it makes everybody's else's life feel like it's so awesome, and everybody's got struggles, no matter what they are.
Yeah.
There's always something that each person's worrying about or thinking about, or it's in their head or a struggle, whatever it is. But social media does not help for sure.
Yeah.
You can't get off your phone. It's social media, videos. It's crazy.
Yeah. Listen, like the way I look at things now is if you completely, and listen, I'll say this. I noticed that most people's mental health issues or depression comes from a lack of purpose. What am I doing here? What's my purpose? Why am I here for this, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you find something that you're really passionate about and you can help people or make the world a better place or improve people's quality of life and do that for a living, and you just keep going after it like fanatically, I think that being depressed and having anxiety is probably a little bit harder, and then you fill the other gaps with going to the gym and spending time with your family, kind of like how my life is on repeat. These days, like, I don't have time to be in a rut like that. Like, I'm too busy, I'm too focused, and I get a lot of happiness from what I do.
Sure. But it's so common today, though. It's like I said, I mean, a little bit of depression or anxiety or stress, whatever it is, it's out there. It's really how you deal with it, what you can do to overcome it, right? Some overcome it with different things. But what would you say is the most common reason why people come in to see you?
Depression and PTSD.
Okay.
And the thing is that also self-medicating with substances for depression and PTSD. The truth is though, is like depression, I believe it's like I'm depressed because I have things that I need to do in my life that I know I need to do in my life, and I keep on putting them off and I'm not doing them. It's like I'm in this loop where I'm unhappy about something. Like, listen, like I used to weigh almost 300 pounds, right? The fact is that I was really depressed back then because I hated myself because I was overweight and fat. And the fact is that it wasn't until I started changing my diet and going to the gym fanatically and addressing that issue that I started being happier about it. And so it's like I can take all the ketamine and psychedelics in the world, but if I'm not going to the gym or if I'm not taking care of my vessel or my body and I'm in that loop, I'm never going to be happy. So I don't think it's just mental. I think it's the whole trinity, mind, body, spirit.
That's right.
All of it, man.
Well, my morning routine starts early. I hit the gym hard. But it's not like going to the gym. And I used to work out to try to get big biceps, chest, abs, You always wanted, didn't care about the back because you went to the beach. You can only see what you could see, the calves, maybe the calves. But now I go in there and I just want to get rid of stress.
Yeah.
Push, like when I'm pushing, it's like I'm just going I'm just trying to push through, that angry seller, that buyer that didn't buy from me, whatever it is. I'm just, using examples, but, working out your mind almost.
100%. Listen, when you work out, it's a massive dopamine release, which makes you feel really, really good. I can be having the worst day in the world, and if I go to the gym and I crush it and I go sit in the sauna afterwards and I kind of relax and meditate in there has never been a day that I did that I didn't feel better leaving the gym. Always remember, when it comes to mental health and I'll be having a healthy life, what I put in here, what I put in here, and what I put in here, what I eat, what I listen to, what I watch determines the way that I'm going to feel up here. And then if you actually put yourself, through some hard exercise or some sort of activity where you're moving around and getting the motion going, you will have a better quality of life.
Are there any vices for you now, things that you try to stay away from? I mean, I know that from the drug aspect, I know that I could look at you and I could tell that you are 110% focused to move forward, right? Any vices, like soft drinks, coffee, alcohol, and anything that you do now, that chewing tobacco that you do that is a vice?
Espresso.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because
Yeah.
you know what, in the life of an entrepreneur, I don't know. I enjoy my espresso
Yeah.
too. But like, going to the gym, it's my vice now. But it's a healthy vice. And like I'm working out though because I love myself these days, not because I hate myself.
Yeah.
And that's a real different place to be too.
For
So
sure.
like I know when to stop working out. I know when I need a rest day, those kind of things.
There's always things that we all do, habits or whatever. Back in the day, I played baseball, but not up to a high level. High school, college, got cut. My college coach said, "I wish the whole team would have your personality." He says, "Your confidence, your team, like you're a leader, but I have to cut you." Right? That's what he said. Helped me. I cried. I went in my car. I cried. Baseball's over with. And at that time, tobacco was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
One of my vices. Through my life, I went, on and off, I would say, for probably 15 years, 20 years. On for 3, off, on, off, on. It's just so easy to do that. And things like that. I mean, I'm good now. I don't chew tobacco anymore.
Yeah.
Thank God. It's not good for you. But can you help people out with stuff like that? Smoking, tobacco.
So when we use nicotine, it's a massive dopamine rush. So like if I smoke a cigarette, 150 times more dopamine gets released from my brain than when we're sitting here talking. And because ketamine goes in and increases your natural dopamine levels, we're helping people get away from cigarettes and vaping and stuff like that. I started smoking when I was 11 years old, all right? And I ended up quitting after, when I met Christina, I was pretty much done by then, but I was still vaping and using, nicotine patches
Sure.
and stuff like that or whatever. And it actually was when I did the ketamine treatments at the facility that I completely quit using nicotine.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of our clients that actually have success like that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, thank you so much, man. This has been a real pleasure today. Really enjoyed meeting with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Joe.
You're welcome. If I can give a message for today, I guess the message for today is it's never too late, right?
Yeah.
Charles, you're 42.
Yeah.
I'm 50. I'll be 50, and we'll call it 49. I'm 7 years older than you. So basically, when I was a senior in high school, you were about 5th grade or so. But it's never too late to start, right? You mentioned I'm going to write a book. So am I.
Yeah.
50 almost, right? It's not too late.
No.
I don't feel 50, and I know you don't feel 42. But it's all about not worrying about the chapter before. It's about using that chapter as sort of ammunition to fuel your fire to get to the next 100 chapters. It's the building blocks of your lifetime, the 30s, 40s, 50s. It's just making you stronger, to make you live longer and be a better dad and to teach. And your story is incredible. I mean, it's a Rocky Balboa story. I mean, it's one of the greatest stories that I've heard, and that's why you're on here today. But it's all about, just not worrying about yesterday. What did you say? Piss on?
One foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, and I'm taking a piss on today, man.
That's right. That's right. But it's all about positive mindset. No matter what we do, we all have struggles, but it's about getting up, getting out, making shit happen, and moving forward. Routine, and being surrounded by people that are, that can help, that are friends of ours, that can help us, people that we can talk to. As leaders, leaders don't have leaders most of the time. They're afraid to ask somebody else because they're perceived as such a leader, right? Patti. Charles is a leader. He doesn't need a leader, right? But we can never be too scared to ask for advice from people and to talk it out. My kids, talk to me. What's going on? What did that kid say to you in school? Let me beat up his dad. I'm just kidding. But, what did that kid say to you? I want to hear about it. Because the more you bottle things up, the more you keep things in your head. You're like a sponge, right? Your brain's like a sponge. The more you keep in there, the more you're going to hold in. It's good to let things go and just let it out. Like a Ferrari sitting in the garage, just sitting there. Not doing it any good. Get that thing on the road, floor it, and let's get some of those carbons out, right?
Yeah.
Spin the tires.
Yeah. No, it's never too late, and always address things head on.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Like a fucking Ferrari.
Yes, sir.
Great podcast. Thanks again, man.
Thank you
I
for having me,
appreciate
Joe.
you.
Appreciate you.